Right, this video is specifically to Parliament, to members of Parliament, and I want to know why you are still not sitting in Parliament. I want to know why you're not holding Parliament, because according to the Security Service Act 1989, you people need to be arresting this government, this criminal government. I've sent you all the evidence. You've got the evidence. You cannot deny it. You have received the evidence. The EU received it all in June. This whole proposal was sent to them in June. Before publication, over a month, well over a month before this was published, it was sent to the EU. It was sent to the Labour Party members. It was sent to lots and lots of people, not just from me, but from other people that I was working with. You all know, you've got the evidence, you know very well this is a terrorist attack. Brexit is a terrorist attack. It is devised for no other reason than to keep Tories and their cronies out of jail, a lot of them, where they belong, so they can keep their tax breaks and their tax havens and their fraudulent businesses. That's what this is all about. It's got nothing at all whatsoever to do with immigrants. We know very well that DynCorp can bring in as many troops as it likes from abroad in service to whatever government is ruling once Brexit is done. We know why you want out now. You want to get it all signed and done with by 31st of October, so you can be out by December, so you're not still in when it's tax time. And you people, you billionaires, have to pay some taxes. Oh dear, how terrible. What, you're going to destroy our whole country? You're going to break up the United Kingdom? Ireland's going to stay in the EU. Good on the EU, because that's exactly what is written here in the proposal, that actually the EU cannot agree to any deal that puts a hard border across Ireland and puts Irish people at risk of the hostilities that have plagued that nation for how long? The EU is not going to participate in scrapping the Good Friday Agreement, so sorry about that one, you far-right fascists of the Tory party and the DUP, that you thought, oh yeah, we pull a fast one here, we can keep our tax breaks and scrap the Good Friday Agreement. Yeah, sorry. That is not going to happen. That is not going to happen. Ireland will remain an EU nation, because the people of Ireland that did vote in the Northern Ireland that were part of the referendum voted to stay in the EU. And legally, by law, the EU has a duty of care to EU citizens and to stand up for them, and they voted to stay in the EU, and therefore the EU will stand with them. So no hard border across Ireland. So basically we've lost Ireland now, because the island is going to be part of the EU. Okay? And then Scotland is going to join Ireland. We know it. We know it. There's no way the Scottish people are going to tolerate having DynCorp guns pointing at them while they're queuing up for their rations. So you MPs, you better think about what you're doing, because what we're on the verge of here is civil war. Okay? There is a civil war happening right now over the British people's heads between Parliament and government. That's a civil war. It will spill out onto the streets if it gets any worse. You are going to need to stand with the law. Now, this includes all the security services of Britain. That's the army, that's the police, that's intelligence. You need now to stand with Parliament. That's what you're going to have to do. You're going to have to arrest Boris Johnson. The Supreme Court, if you dare now not to uphold the law and recognise the immense damage that these evil Tories and their cohorts have inflicted against our nation, then that's it. There is no court. There is no court, because you're not standing by the law. You're refusing yourself as the Supreme Court to uphold the Security Service Act. If you cannot stand by the Scottish Court of Sessions judgment that was made last week, if you can't stand by that, if you overturn that judgment, you've overturned yourself, because you've revolted against Parliament, you've revolted against our democracy, you've revolted against our economy, and you've revolted against everything that the people of World War II suffered and struggled so much for. Because, you know, most of the laws and rights that are now established part at the foundation of EU law were originally devised in Britain, and Britain had a huge part in ratifying all of those laws and treaties and agreements. We haven't been an idle, silent partner of the EU, and the only reason why they want to leave is to protect their taxes. We know that. Their taxes, and to keep concealed all the criminal activities that Mr. Gordon Bowden has exposed. And I'll leave the links again to Mr. Gordon Bowden and the proposal. So I hope that the Supreme Court do take note, and that Parliament itself now, the MPs that have been locked out of Parliament by a tyrannical alleged Prime Minister that nobody's actually voted for. If you're not going to arrest him, like I say, this isn't America. We do have laws, we do have a police service, we do have a military, we do have intelligence. It's time to arrest them. You're going to have to arrest Boris Johnson. He's a liar. The High Court, sorry, you fell on your face, High Court. This is the second time you fell on your face. You failed to uphold children's rights. Now you failed to uphold the rights of the whole nation of British people. That a High Court could sit there and say that Boris Johnson has a right to tell lies, to persuade people to vote for something that is going to cause such damage to our nation that, you know, in Luxembourg, as this guy states, it is a nightmare. A nightmare. That's terrorism. Terrorism is a nightmare. And that is what we've been facing. We've been living with it now, the British people, for 3 years. Okay? Now, people talk to me about the 52% that voted to leave. Right? So, let's say that the Cambridge Analytica campaign managed to persuade, with its lies, about 10% of that vote. Well, you've lost your majority straight away. And as soon as that, actually 20-30% started to realise the truth, they don't want it no more. So we're talking about a minority. We're talking about a minority of people who, for whatever reason, perhaps the sadomasochists, because there is absolutely no benefit to Brexit. There is absolutely no benefit to being made dependent on America. None whatsoever. And there is no benefit. We're talking about austerity on steroids. That's what we're talking about, people. Austerity on steroids. A lot of the people now who are saying, oh, well, you know, I just want what we voted for. They don't realise that. Look, you're going to lose your job, mate. Oh, you're fear-mongering, you're fear-mongering. And it gets to the point where I feel like, well, fuck you then. I'm just going to sit back. Just have your Brexit. Let's see how you all get on. We know shops, no food in the shops. Let's see how you all get on queuing up for your rations. Let's see how you get on seeing your loved ones go without medications and treatments. Watching people's children die. They'll be able to thank you, won't they? Any parent that's child has had to die because they've got no access to proper medication, they'll be able to knock on your door. You Brexiteers, I hope that your conscience is steely enough to look them in the eye and say, I did the right thing. Are you going to be able to do it? Or are you going to be like Boris Johnson, absent from the fucking scene, barricading yourself in behind your doors, your bolted doors? Because no, you won't be able to look at the people who are burying their dead because of Brexit. And that is how fucking serious it is. When you get into that point that they're stocking up on body bags, I'm sorry, this is a terrorist attack. This is a terrorist attack. Understand it. Understand this is what we are up against. And stupid people stood there saying, oh, you're being scaremongering. No, it's you people who were scaremongering, or you're a victim of scaremongering, being told that millions of Muslims are coming into the country, or that Europe's going to bring its army into Britain. Why shouldn't Europe have an army? Do you not think the British army would be part of it? This is outrageous. It is. And like I say, there's the law, Parliament. This is the law. You need to stand by it. You're not going to stand by it. You're going to ignore this, are you, Parliament? Like you ignored the risks of the referendum, the threat to Ireland, that you all agreed to a referendum that you knew. You must have known, because that's your job as MPs, of representatives in Parliament, to represent the British people, which include the people of Northern Ireland. And not one of you stood up saying, no, we can't have a referendum, because if the people vote they want to leave, then that is basically scrapping the Good Friday Agreement. Oh, but no, we're not going to leave like that. No, there will be no hard border across Ireland. No, of course we're going to get a deal. We're going to get a deal. And then all suddenly there's no deal, because it's a crap deal. Because it's stupid. And because the EU is insisting that, no, you're part of the market. You have to uphold certain principles. And they're good principles. Making sure we have health, safety, food. Making sure that we protect our environment. That we live as responsible citizens. And not like lunatics. This is the law. So, Parliament, you need to understand exactly what is going on. Because obviously you've all been living, where? Under a hedge? Because like I say, how could any of you agree to a referendum that would be so divisive and that would cause such problems? People have been injured. Children have been attacked at school. It's just gone crazy. One comment from Boris Johnson about Muslim women, and attacks against Muslims rise by, what was it, 350% overnight. No. Somebody somewhere needs to take responsibility. Somebody somewhere needs to be held to account. And we need to see the law. Where is the law? We need to see it in action. Okay, because it certainly comes into action quick enough, doesn't it? Okay, over sick and disabled people, the moment that they're found to be fit for work, when actually they're dying of cancer. Oh, well, you can go through an appeal, and by the time they get through, by the time they appeal, before the appeal even comes, they're dead. The fact is that the poorest people in this country, that they've suffered a bailing, haven't they? They've suffered a bailing. Money stolen off them to make up for the money that they've lost through the banking shenanigans. That is what has happened. Stealing off the very poorest people. That is how sick these people are, these Tories. That is how sick they are. They have stolen off the very poorest and most vulnerable people in our country. And now they want to steal off everybody. They want to make everybody queue up outside food banks to buy our food. That's going to be extortionate. The prices are going to rise like nobody's business. You're talking about a 58% rise. This is world trade tariffs. 58% rise for beef. Similar for cheese. Similar for potatoes. You know, I mean, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. We're talking about terrorism. We're talking about a risk of civil war. We're talking about a risk of the resurgence of troubles in Northern Ireland. We're talking about a terrorist government. Because, like I say, this, okay, it does not refer to government, does it? It doesn't refer to government. It actually refers to Parliament. Parliamentary democracy. That's what's been attacked as well now, in order to get this criminal mess through. So Boris Johnson and his bozo clowns can all laugh all the way to the bank, can't they? No. So you people, you're going to stand by the law, or if you don't, we the people will be standing by it. And anybody who's not with us, you're going down. It's as simple as that. Because if the law cannot be held in Britain now, that's it. There's no hope for the rest of the world. And if this country suddenly sells itself to America like a whore, leaves its marriage in order to be a whore, okay, well, I'm sorry. I will be an independent. In fact, I'm going to apply to the EU to leave Britain because I don't want to be here. This is my nation. I'm native, British, born and bred. My granddad gave his life for this country, but I will be gone because I will not be able to sit and watch the shit hit the fan. I don't want to be part of it. It's not my country. My country's been taken over by criminals, criminal monsters. That is who my country is being run by. And there's one other thing I take very, very, very seriously, that this evil little, all I can call him is a fuckhead, because that's what he is, sat there and said that, you know, money spent on investigating historical child abuse is money spaffed up the wall. So we can ignore the fact that through investigating historical child abuse and tracking down the abusers, that in fact many children who were suffering present abuse have been rescued directly because people have reported historical crimes and found that these people were still had access to children and were still abusing children. But according to him, that's money spaffed up the wall, right? But 100 million a day or whatever it is he's spending on his advertising campaign for Brexit, public money used for the purposes of tyranny, right? Oh, that's not money spaffed up the wall, is it? And I find that very, very serious that he even said that. Why would he say that? What is he saying there to all the child abusers out there who've never been detected, who are perhaps a bit worried about the fact that people can now report historical crimes and are worried that, oh, maybe one day the police are going to be knocking on the door because they've abused children. Oh, but they can all rest easy now, can't they? They can all rest assured with Boris Johnson in power, because he's just assured them that, you know, money spent on investigating historical crimes against children is money spaffed up the wall. You fucking bastard. And and again, the BBC let him get away with that. Shame on you, BBC, shame on you, and shame on you, Parliament, and shame on anybody who calls themselves a police officer or a soldier or an intelligent agent in our country. Anybody who's part of the national security of Britain, you cannot stand up, you civil servants, if you're not prepared to stand up for the law. Shame on the lot of you. I hope you get what's coming to you with your hard Brexit that obviously you support, because silence equals consent.